So, there's been some huge news from the pharmaceutical giant Pfizer. They've made a promise that could, completely change how much Americans pay for prescription drugs. Let's get right into it and break down exactly what's on the table.
And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, look at this. The announcement included claims of price cuts of over 1,000%. Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't about tiny little adjustments. This is a massive, massive shift in what people might have to pay.
So at its core, this is all about an agreement with Pfizer aimed squarely at the super high cost of medicine here in the US. The entire promise really rests on three main pillars. So let's walk through each one of them.
Okay, so the first part of this whole deal targets a massive government program, Medicaid. And as you probably know, this is the health insurance program that covers millions of low-income Americans. So any change here is going to have a huge ripple effect.
Now, the key idea driving this change is something called most favored nations pricing. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Basically, a lot of other countries negotiate way lower drug prices. This principle just means the US government would stop paying more and get that same low price. Kind of like price matching on a global scale.
So the promise is that every single Pfizer drug that goes through Medicaid will get this new lower price. The idea is to dramatically cut what the government spends, which in turn directly helps lower healthcare costs for the people who really depend on the program.
All right, so that's the plan for government programs. But what about the rest of us? For the average person buying a prescription? Well, the second pillar of this deal addresses that directly, and it involves some really steep discounts. These are the numbers that are really going to make you sit up and listen. Pfizer is promising to cut the price of some of its most popular drugs by 50 to 100%. In theory, that could mean a prescription that costs you hundreds of dollars today could become way cheaper or maybe even free.
So how would you actually get these prices? Well, the plan would be a direct-to-consumer online setup. You could just go to a federally run website and buy these specific drugs right there at the discounted rate. Pretty straightforward.
And this part is absolutely crucial. This deal isn't just about the drugs that are already on the market. It also reportedly covers all new medications from Pfizer. That means any future breakthroughs would launch in the US at that same lower, globally negotiated price right from the start.
Okay, so beyond just cutting prices, there's a third and final part of this deal, and it's a huge pledge of financial investment. We're talking about investing big money back into the American pharmaceutical industry itself.
And the number they're throwing around is a staggering $70 billion. To put that into perspective, that's more than the entire yearly revenue for a lot of major companies. The stated goal here is to use that capital to really strengthen the US pharmaceutical base.
So where's all that money supposed to go? Well, the plan directs it into two key areas. First, bringing manufacturing facilities back to the United States. That's a process called reshoring. And second, funding brand new research and development, R&D, right here on American soil.
Whew, okay. So those are the three main pieces of this whole announcement. Let's just take a quick step back and put it all together to recap the core promises.
It really all boils down to these three things. For the government, it's lower costs on Medicaid through global pricing. For you, the public, it could mean direct access to some huge discounts online. And for the US economy, it's a $70 billion shot in the arm for domestic manufacturing and research.
At the end of the day, this whole announcement really points toward a big potential move away from America's pretty unique drug pricing system, and it leaves all of us with a really critical question. What happens, the good and the bad, when a nation's drug prices are suddenly tied to what the rest of the world pays?